So I'm reading 6 short poems tonight. The first has a kind of strange connection to an island off the coast of Africa. It's a strategic refueling station for the military, and it supported the French and British imperialism as they were colonizing Africa. It's home to one of the most active underwater volcanoes, and I'm not sure if this has always been the case, but currently no one's allowed to live on the island for more than a year, making it kind of feel like something from a ghost story. And so this one's called Off the Cusp of Ascension Island. The captain's log is washed in brine, and the keel drinks while this galleon goes down. Up, up, small children who wear ordainments like sailors and smell of sun-dried kelp. The lower decks cannot hold you. Up, because these decayed leaflets of noise from captains past are an archive of your desire to live. You are not so far behind if you are willing to read them. Galatian sailors have found it, ascension. But these young Di Migueles drown before the shore. Be permeable. Let the sharks, rigging, and disease fade through you like spectrums of invisible light. A body of lipids will fight to keep the water at bay. You are so far off course but can use recessions to ripple out a Morse code, I don't want to die alone. Silt on the missives, mud on the knees, and heads strung along like bobbers will never keep you from boiling in a hydrothermal vent. Character piece inspired by If Birds Gather Your Hair for Nesting by Anna Journey. If you get a chance to read it, it's fantastic. She does some really fun play with surrealism. And this one's called A Reason Harpies Don't Smile. Gene splicing, regardless of intent, created a girl with a tiger's tail and black wings instead of arms. Raptor feet amble her about. She cannot take wing. She's only part crow. It is the human bits where she feels lesser, not the orange stripes at the swell of her spine, not the black hair tangled in the feathers at her nape. A torso, a face, jerky movements to frighten, from an extraneous curl of lips over slicing teeth to bird-jointed ankles misunderstood as knees. Sterile hybrid stalking the corners of her enclosure with grimacing hawk eyes, who knows her own tainted reflection exemplifies her patchwork of DNA. We're listening to and singing Celtic lullabies to my son. Many of these lullabies are very dark, but very beautiful. And so I try to recreate this sadness with some character work. The words, Si Hailuli Mabe, means sleep, my lovely baby. And this is where my poems start to take a step towards realism. This one's called Women Who Tend Apple Orchards. Lamentations softly rock the apple-cheeked boy roundly sleeping, leaving his sow-eyed mother tucking in his dreams. She sings Si Hailuli Mabe, sings of Gregor's wife who holds no apples at his grave, and thinks of women who stand dollar in the square, beating breasts when their boys die. Even as the child sleeps, she hums songs of the Black Death, famine, and war. She knows reapers come on dark horses to pluck the ripest, the sweetest. She puts her palm to his face. As the words, Si Hailuli Mabe, swaddle him tightly, tomorrow separates to sleep. This next one has kind of an interesting story. I was trolling the internet one day, which I can't help. And I stumbled onto a video clip of a televangelist trying to tell soldiers returning home from war that PTSD wasn't a real thing, that they were members of, or that they were given amnesty by God to fight a justified war, and that their disorder was socially constructed. Having members in the military, in my own family, and even some with PTSD, this was something kind of upsetting. It felt like another way to push soldiers aside and not give them the care that they deserve and need. And so this one kind of sprung up from those emotions. A revelation of divine forgiveness. Love is only a conversation to have with women who shampoo twice a week, getting out the dander of a sinner's life. He never gets loved better for the time he bathes in the stained glass light of Annunciation, wanting Gabriel to bring him a little good news. Solace for when the priest asks about work programs, shelter, the way he disconnects from the machine grinding boys into war, into 1,000 pieces of red confetti peppering the air from mortars, scattered across the streets of cities who expect someone else to wash him. God says PTSD is for men who fight unjust battles. There is no sin to wash away. Moving on from something depressing to a little less depressing. I kind of have a strange relationship with my father. My parents divorced when I was very young, and not long after that, just a few years, I moved in permanently with an aunt. It's kind of always been difficult for me to express what my relationship was like with him, because we were not unfriendly to each other, but there was always something between us, a kind of distance that I could never really put my finger on. But I think this next poem comes about as close as I can get to how he made me feel about him and myself. So, American Exceptionalism for Daughters. He slipped delicate worms onto hooks with hands made of leather and grease, leaving her jealous of concern given to night crawlers raised in a compost factory. His effort where she was unable to feel God. Parasitic ideas need to be scraped off like an invasion of shadflies on the St. Lawrence, who don't bite but can mess up a person's ride, so her daddy has to fix it. He's good at fixing the car, lawnmower, or her doubt he ever liked her. She enjoyed the space allotted in Daddy's house for cooking and attending a working man with a button-up shirt smelling of cigars. Serves his need to escape in nature where, like Thoreau, he is restored, male and powerful, individualism gloried through the sight of a rifle waiting to see a thoughtless doe. Brown eyes watching dangers she can't interpret, 90 pounds of deadweight a daughter drags out of the woodlot at sundown while geese fly south for winter. I haven't made it through the reading with dry eyes yet. You're kind of all guinea pigs tonight, I'm sorry. I hope you like it. In case you don't know what WIC is, it's a supplemental nutrition program for at-risk nursing or pregnant women, infants, children. So I'm prefacing it with a quote from the WIC General Analysis Project. It's the executive summary of 2000. To be eligible for WIC, a child must be under the age of 5 in a household with an income under 185% of the federal poverty level and a nutritional risk. And this one's called Secondhand Generation. My son sleeps in a secondhand bed in secondhand pajamas. His secondhand status stripped him of dignity and adequate nutrition. Failure to thrive listed child has failed to revive before my temporary implementation of a program feeding children, infants, and women who are fed up deciding between milk and school, heat, or transportation. Can we move past the clips of EBT buying soda, lazy unemployed shirking work to pass the buck onto a system meant to catch little ones when the economic markets fall? My son didn't deregulate on purpose. My son should eat no matter what you think of his mother. 4 million reasons to stare at malnourished babies exist as secondhand statistics, faceless as the lettuce, apples, and whole wheat supermarkets offer and I cannot afford. I didn't know until he didn't want to eat, to grow, what it meant to live so low to the bottom that I forgot to look up from the floor when they called my child's name, because that's where he sits with a worn toy and all my earthly concerns.